Penguin Random House Audio presents A Proposal to Die For by Molly Harper. Read for you by Amanda Ronconi. For Natanya, who brings so many wonderful things to my life. Without you, Jess would just be one of my weird middle-of-the-night index card ideas. The Emergency. Jessamine Bricker thought spas were supposed to be relaxing. So far, her stay at the Golden Ash had left her creeped out, covered in mud, menaced, and forcibly bridesmaided. Bridesmaid? Jess was going to need therapy to deal with all this relaxation. Her solo session in the spa's thermal suite had started out so well, soaking in softly scented steam showers and floating in silent, tranquil pools. But now she was standing in the sunlit hallway listening for... she wasn't sure what. Despite being surrounded by heated white ceramic tile, she shivered and drew her plush golden ash robe closer at the throat. Something was off. Some primal atmospheric disturbance was closing in around her. Jess turned to look for dangers hidden in the long, empty corridor. She was alone, save for the harp music over forest sounds pumped in from some hidden speaker. She should have found comfort in it. But what was that smell? The sour, moldy stink had Jess gagging. She clamped her hand over her mouth to prevent that offensive fog from creeping into her respiratory system. The smell seemed to be coming from the Alpine steam room. She closed her fingers around the handle and pulled. The overripe, cheese-scented steam billowed out over her head, making her groan out her displeasure. Jess flicked on the light switch. A rumpled mass of person lay splayed across the sauna's aqua slate floor. Is that who I think it is? The irritatingly familiar person mass in question was face down, like they'd been clambering toward the door before collapsing into a thin puddle of what she was pretty sure was vomit. Ew. Okay, get up, Jess huffed at the prone form, a pit of apprehension forming in her belly. This party till you pass out nonsense was embarrassing when you were 20. Now it's just sad. Jess laid a hand against the mottled skin, which was cold to the touch, even with the steam curling around them. No. Not hungover. Dead. Jess let loose a strangled yelp, scuttling back until she felt the wall. Death had checked in at the Golden Ash Spa and Wellness Resort, and it smelled like expired dairy. Why couldn't she yell? Why couldn't she move? Her hands seemed to be frozen at her sides. Everything in her was cold, numb weight. The warm air current flowed over her face, but she was freezing. Her hands slipped ineffectively against the tile. Why couldn't she push up? Jess forced herself to look away from the empty eyes, the graying skin. But she couldn't seem to get her brain to concentrate on one thing, anything that would get her out of this mess. A large, red, round shape came into focus, and with great effort, she homed all her attention on that bright spot, a plastic circle inside a closing case that read, "Press in case of emergency." Jess was the kind of girl who followed directions. Chapter 1. Several weeks earlier. One never knew when a comically oversized resin clam was going to come in handy. And Jess Bricker happened to know a guy who could procure one for her on short notice. That was why nervous prospective spouses paid Jess top dollar to find rare items like this, items that were somehow vital to their marriage proposals, and then get the hell out of the way. Standing outside the largest tank at the Appalachian Seas Aquarium, Jess waved at the dive supervisor as he gently placed the faux shell in the tank's seaweed bed. Glittering clouds of fish swarmed around Dive Shop Dave, clearly expecting some sort of food. Dave double-checked that the precious package was inside the shell and flashed Jess a thumbs up. Those frustrated fish jetted away unfed. Shaking her head, Jess stepped back to appreciate the visual scope of her evening's work. She chewed on a full-bottom lip that had bid goodbye to its coat of nude rose gloss after her fourth coffee of the day. The aquarium was home to one of the few whale shark-friendly exhibits in the world. Tonight's human guest of honor, Samantha, was an avid scuba diver. Her longtime boyfriend, Gage, had gotten certified on the sly, just so he could gift her a private birthday dive with the gentle giants. A big unchecked box on Samantha's bucket list. The tank's shadowed viewing room was cleared after closing, giving Jess and the aquarium staff time to stage this romantic tableau for the future Mr. and Mrs. Gage Hallidan. Maintenance workers had meticulously scrubbed fingerprints from the tank's thick acrylic, removing all evidence that hordes of elementary school students had herded through only hours before. A sweetheart table for two stood near the tank's front, centered in a pool of rippling blue light. The effect was dreamy and ethereal, enough to make any mermaid's heart go, swish? How did mermaids' hearts go? This is not the first time I've said this, but that is a weird question to be asking yourself at 10 o'clock on a weeknight, Jess muttered under her breath. Also, it's a little sad how often you talk to yourself. The picture was almost perfection. But she hadn't become one of Nashville's best-kept matrimonial secrets by creating almost perfection. Jess picked up her Bluetooth earpiece, careful not to knock any element of the teal and silver tablescape aside. She murmured into the attached lapel mic. "Hey, Bob, the lighting feels a little cold. Anything we can do about that?" The earpiece cheeped, and the aquarium's facilities supervisor replied, "Sure thing, Jess." Jess smiled as the overhead lights shifted ever so slightly to a warm, peachy glow, thanks to colored gels meant to imitate a sunset over the ocean. She closed her eyes, imagining she was the birthday girl, and a man like Gage loved her enough to set something like this up for her. Jess, mermaid is in the cave," Bob murmured over Jess's earpiece. "Repeat, mermaid is in the cave. Over." She snorted softly to herself. Bob was really embracing this whole secret mission aesthetic. Of course, he was earning double overtime thanks to Gage's generous private rental fee, which bought a lot of goodwill. "Got it, Bob. Mark this setting and then cut the lights outside the tank so mermaid can't see the table," she said. The lights clicked off immediately, leaving Jess bathed in the otherworldly marine glow. She smiled, retreating into a recessed alcove near displays that explained the feeding habits of all the animals in the Swimming with Legends exhibit. The angle to see into the tank's overhead maintenance space was spot on, so she could see Gage and Samantha in full scuba gear. "Countdown to splash in?" "Splash in imminent. Over," Bob responded, just as the couple dropped into the water in a profusion of bubbles. "And showtime," Jess whispered into the lapel mic, her wide gray eyes tracking Gage's and Samantha's descent through the water. The next few minutes ran like clockwork. After initially skittering away from the intrusive splash, the fish edged back toward the happy couple, as if they'd always been part of the ecosystem. Samantha whirled around like a mini typhoon, trying to see everything at once through her bright pink scuba mask. And while whale sharks couldn't be trained, technically, the enormous dark silhouette glided through the water behind them as if on cue. Jess signaled Andrew Daysong, a local photographer Jess regularly hired to shoot her clients' events. He stepped forward, discreetly capturing the moment that Samantha practically vibrated with joy under the water. It would be the perfect photo for their future mantle. Gage and Samantha perfectly framed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?